YouTube, what's up? Welcome back to another week's episode of Three Simple Men Making Their Way Through the Galaxy. I'm Tom, with me is Ryan and Mike, and this week we are back in the Clone Wars, Season 1, Episode 5, titled Rookies, where we're reunited with a familiar group of clones that we saw before, that is Domino Squad. Guys, what do we think about the episode?
Pretty good.
So not only are we reunited with a familiar squad, but I want to think, I'm pretty sure we're in a familiar system at least, right? So they mentioned that this is an outpost in the Rishi system. So that is, I think, the second time we've heard that. Let me start us off with the quote that the episode starts with. This one is, "The best confidence builder is experience," which I definitely think was a good quote for this episode and very clearly a relevant theme throughout the episode. But yeah, we have our earlier clones that are now in charge of manning an outpost that's supposed to be an early warning system if the Separatists were to attempt to invade the Rishi system and specifically go after Kamino. We have, and if you don't remember, Domino Squad was Fives, Heavy, Echo, and Cut Up.
I believe there was one more too, Droid Bait.
Oh, and Droid Bait. Who was Droid Bait in this episode?
No,
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Unless he,
because we had a sergeant. They did have a sergeant that was commanding them,
but I don't think he had a name.
Yeah. I didn't get his name. I did get, there was a clone that was out as the Sentry. He was
C-327.
Yeah, is that Droid Bait's designation?
I don't think so. I think they would have called him Droid Bait versus designation. So yeah, we're dealing with the.
Okay, for argument's sake, right now we have 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to say this, now that we know what the Separatists are planning, this is, may I quote the movie Dodgeball? It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Yeah, I mean, the idea to take out Kamino, to basically cripple the army, right, or the military, because if they were to do that, there's no more clones, and then the Galactic Republic would have to, who knows, recruit civilians. I don't know. They wouldn't really have anyone to fight. So yeah, it's definitely a good strategical move if they could pull it off. So we pretty quickly get introduced to the commando droids, the new commando droids that appear to fight. And they kind of reminded me of the
shower, as they
like. And as soon, you're right. So they just see a meteor shower coming in. And I even wrote down, I was like, I couldn't help but remember the quote, "That's no moon." And I was just thinking to myself, that's no meteor. Like, but yeah, they come in a meteor shower. So very stealthy, right? The droids themselves, the kind of design, they reminded me of kind of like the droids, the robots from iRobot a little bit. Obviously not like white and shiny, but like just the mechanics of them, how they kind of seem like more human, I guess.
I mean, the way they moved, it really makes it difficult for the Republic or the clones especially, to now have to deal with. When we start off, it was always the B1 battle droids that were just simple, all control, single, one motion. Then you had the B2 battle droids, you had the droidicas, and now we have this into the wrench, and now it's just like, it's just getting much more, the Separatists are just increasing or being more innovative about the type of droids they're going to be using for now on.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, the first time and maybe the only time that we'll actually see a droid put on clone armor, because that's what ends up happening. They disguise the droid does a costume change and disguises himself in the armor, which was funny. And we might jump around a little bit here, but that's, we see, jumping ahead, we see Luke and Han in episode 1, sorry, episode
Episode
4,
4.
New Hope. Sorry. They put on the stormtrooper armor to don the disguise, and in this one the droids put on the clone trooper armor. And then a further throwback is when our good friends Cody and Rex get sent down to investigate for routine inspection of the base, and they radio in to say that they're coming after the base has been taken by the commando droids. One of the droids with the helmet on is talking into the microphone or the radio, and he's very much kind of sounds like Han does in A New Hope, where he's like, we're okay here, nothing going on, and I was like, oh, this is funny.
I got that same Easter egg well back. Definitely
that makes sense.
Also with the commando droids too, and now you have them impersonate or like taking on the voice of the clones too. So not only were they dressed in armor, but they're trying to sound like the clones. And unfortunately, they say Roger, Roger at the end, and Rex is like, something's going on here. And I think they've had pretty routine inspections so far. And to Cody's point, it's like, yeah, you're going to take point on this one, Rex. So, so all is good. And then we see General Grievous reaching out to Asajj Ventress, who is probably a one-man person, I guess, if she's been able to infiltrate Kamino, or I don't know how
it's very interesting. They said she was a spy on Kamino.
Because I'm thinking it's just from Clone Wars chronological order, I think maybe we're jumping around a little bit, but when I was looking at the order earlier, I guess this is the way it is. Because I think later on we're going to see an actual attack on Kamino, just based on the order, it seems like it's in the right place.
Well, so Ventress, last time we saw her, right, she was foiled by Yoda and pretty much escaped then. So then they must have sent her to Kamino, and who knows, maybe, the spy on what was the information she gave? Did it seem like she actually had info or no?
Not really. I think they were
just said like, I'm here,
waiting for them to meet up at the rendezvous point so they could make the move. But it's just only a hologram, and that's it.
We only ever see Kamino, as far as I'm aware, as like the specific cloner facility, but it is a whole planet, right? So she could be out on an island, or maybe more likely chilling on like a ship or something on the planet,
under the water too.
Underwater, yep. So that's kind of we don't know, and maybe we'll find out or get a little more clues to that. But definitely a good call to bring that up. So just before we move on, during the initial attack, we lose the which I guess he died, but the commando droids stun gun. They stun the Sentry unit, which was interesting because we never see him again. So, and they kill the sergeant. But Fives, Heavy, Echo, and Cut Up escape out onto the moon, the planet, whatever they're on. And Echo is, as usual, trying to read out the protocols and say that they're not supposed to be outside. And as they say it, a giant eel jumps up and unfortunately eats Cut Up. So Cut Up, which was very sad. And then we're down to Fives, Heavy, and Echo.
And then I think what we see, going back to Rex and Cody too, and obviously you have Obi-Wan and Anakin checking in. There was one funny part where Obi-Wan and Anakin are having back and forth about their commanders, and it's like, oh, Rex is taken from you by not following orders, and then Anakin has that quip back. So maybe Cody's boring him with standard operating procedures. So
that was pretty funny.
I noticed that
See a
too.
little more of that dynamic, and that's what you would expect. Because I mean, Cody definitely takes on more of the Obi-Wan role, and Rex is more like Anakin when those two are together. So, um, but yeah, I think at this point we see them land. They get to the platform, and at that point, the commando droids are doing their best to impersonate the clones, but they're waving their hands around, and I think they say Roger, Roger again, and you just have Rex like, nope, and then I think at that same time too, the clones launch the flare
Yep.
to get attention. Oh crap, we're under droid attack. So Rex, without any, without without hesitation, he just gives them headshot, boom, and Cody was like, "Wait, what are you doing?" It's like, "Well, this is the commando droid." And they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we've heard about these, but yeah, this is the first time we're seeing him going up against him in action." So
I mean, for Rex, it was all his gut instinct. It was the mannerism. Once he heard Roger, Roger for the first time, he's like, "Wait, none of us have ever said Roger, Roger."
Mhm.
It's like, why are they acting out of the ordinary? Why aren't they following protocol? It's sloppy. What's going on?
Mhm.
It's a little details he noticed where he started to assess and realize, okay, now I'm 100% sure something's wrong.
Yeah. I would definitely hope he was confident before he chose to shoot the clone in the head. But yeah, he picked up on everything. And then the crew meet up with them, and they use the kind of the same tactic where he pretends to be
Yeah, Rex getting creative with
right.
the
He pretends to be the commando droid wearing his helmet. So Rex pretends to be a commando droid pretending to be a clone trooper,
yeah.
and then pulls up and they say take the helmet off, and he pulls up the severed head, and he says his Roger, Roger. And then I think the coolest part of the episode, the door opens up and he's standing there and pointing a gun at the three commando droids and looks at them and goes, Roger, Roger.
I
And
just
they
love
shoot
Cody. Cody standing to the side goes, and he's just
This is
shaking his
never
head
gonna
like, this
work.
isn't
Yeah.
gonna work.
Yeah. It was definitely very funny. So they take back the base, but realize that the Seppi. Oh, I totally missed. I got the count of it. I'm not sure if it was Rex or Cody, but one of them does say, "I got a bad feeling about this."
this.
Yeah, I heard about that too. Yep.
So we did. Did anyone catch if it was Cody or Rex?
Might have been, I don't
I
know.
wasn't sure. I know it was one of them. But I did write that
Yeah,
down. So
both
we're
were
at
super
we're
different.
at now 4. I got a bad feeling about this. But unfortunately, the separatists have basically hard
They
coded in,
hardwired the all clear
hardwired in the
signal and disabled
yeah.
the beacon, so they can't alert the Republic that the base is invaded. So unfortunately, as the all clear signal, Grievous is like, "Well, what's going on here? Why isn't anyone reporting?" And it's like, "Well, we need to send a squad down." And now you have a battleship flying in, and they're like, "Well, we don't have enough men or ammunition to get through this." So, and of course, Rex comes up with the idea. It's like, well, we have to destroy the base because that's going to alert the Republic that something's wrong here. So they gather everything they can, and they mention liquid Tabana as the explosive versus detonators because I guess they didn't have enough detonators to blow it up.
Yeah. So the plan is blow up the base. They have it all set, and unfortunately, the trigger mechanism is not connecting properly. I guess the Bluetooth wouldn't connect. I don't know.
But
And
I just going a little back, before
yep.
that, when the droids are sent through, and then you see I thought the other funniest thing was when the droids say open up, you see Heavy with the heavy blaster saying, "You didn't say please."
Oh yeah, and it was funny too because funny you mentioned that because like, oh, a big gun doesn't make a big man. I forget which clone said it, but I was like the Heavy right before he created
Rex.
or yeah, it was.
I believe it was I believe it was Rex. It could have been Cody, but I'm pretty sure. Actually, no, it would have been.
That would have been fine
think
for Echo,
It could have
honestly.
been.
That'd be one of their comrades more
I
so
think it
than
was. I thought it was. I think it was Cody because Cody and Heavy were the ones kind of standing at the door while the other ones were working on setting up.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And then I don't know if you guys also noticed this when after that happened, they were closing the door. Did you notice we got another different style shot, like the first person POV of
A little bit,
the
yeah,
two
with
droids?
the gun. Yep.
Yep. So definitely something the filmmakers or animators in this case like going back to that, right? We saw it in the Clone movie, and now we've seen it at least 2 other times in the series. So yeah, you're right. It's fun to catch. But so anyway, the Bluetooth isn't working. They need to for some reason they go, Heavy, fix this, and then they all start evacuating. And Heavy is about to leave, but realizes he can't get it fixed, so he needs to stay behind and trigger it manually, alerting the rest of the clones, who then try to come back to stop him, while he starts shooting off with his big gun many droids until they gun him down right before getting to the mechanism. Just when you think Heavy has failed and died, one of the battle droids says, "Do we take prisoners?" And Heavy comes back to, and he goes, "I don't." And he pushes the button, blowing up the outpost and himself, and immediately basically alerting the
Alerting the Republic that
Republic. Thank you. Word there. Alerting
like
the
a
Republic.
fly or something coming in. It's like, oh geez.
Yeah, who come right in and basically cut off Grievous. So probably the saddest of the clone deaths we've seen so far, in my opinion. I mean, Cut Up was sad, but not, not heroic. His was kind of goofy, actually. He got eaten by a giant worm.
And it really goes back towards the whole clone development, them getting personalities and stuff like that. When you see Heavy, and he was about to go AWOL, and he was about to just quit the train and go on his own, and then now making that ultimate sacrifice, it was a complete 180 from what he started off as.
And I do, right when you said that, Tom, too, I remembered we did actually skip over one other thing. When Rex and Cody first show up, Rex immediately shoots one of the giant eels, like right in the eye, like one shot kill. Very impressive. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because he also gets the eel blood on his hand and puts his hand on Echo's chest, giving a handprint on Echo's armor, which adds to the individuality of the clones. This is another way for us to now kind of tell them apart. Fives has a little 5 tattoo on his head, but Echo has now a handprint on his chest.
And also, too, like, I think if you hadn't said this already, Rex refers to them as shinies.
Yep.
So yeah, you definitely, he just sees them all as rookies because obviously they're checking in to see if, oh, where's your Sarge? And he got killed in action, just like, and goes back to your quote at the beginning that it's experience that it's going to bring you firsthand too. And one of the things that I forget if it was Cody or Rex, but it's like, oh yeah, we could use a Jedi right now, but this episode really showed clones coming together, thinking creatively to essentially stop the separatists. And for them, like, it was more than just fighting for the Republic, it was fighting for their brothers back home, because if they failed, then yeah, like we talked about earlier, the separatists would have been able to get through to Camino, and there would have been a lot of casualties with that. So
Very true.
Unfortunately, yeah, this was very personal to them, but it did bring them together. And like you said, with the experience, and then you see Obi-Wan and Anakin recognizing Fives and Echo for all their hard work, and they thought, well, we kind of failed by blowing up the station. But then again, you get that perspective. It's like, no, you guys did the right thing, because it would have been a different story had the all clear signal kept broadcasting, and they would have known, because obviously Obi-Wan and Anakin were trying to find Grievous, and he was spotted in one system. It's been very quiet, but obviously he was in the Rishi trying to get through, but they failed. And because of that, with that experience, Rex recognized them more that they weren't just shinies, and he was happy to have them as part of his 501st.
Yep.
So
So now, they're officially part of the 501st, which is pretty cool now.
Mm-hmm. So I thought, so what we were saying with the clone development, definitely a very good episode, and just we'll be seeing more of these clones in action with the 501st.
All right. With that, any hot takes, Tom?
I don't think I have one. I think the only thing I'm thinking of is if Heavy didn't run out of ammo, I think he could have just cleared that room out by himself, to be honest.
He racked up well, technically he did, but he was gunning down a lot, not just battle droids, but also those
Commando droids,
and then the other ones too. There was a couple
super battle droids,
battle droids,
battle droids, yeah.
Yeah, he did some work. Did some heavy damage.
And I know Star Wars isn't really one for like swear words or anything, but I think I heard clones like say hell twice, and just like,
yeah, I heard hell at least once.
Yeah, so
is that your deep dive, Mike?
Not I wouldn't say it's a deep dive, but just something, I don't know, just deep dives, Easter eggs, or just something random.
Yeah, something.
That's what I'm just gonna group it to one of those three.
Oh, I skipped the beginning. Oh man, but you're right, and I mean that it kind of reminded me. Right in the beginning, we get the clones at this outpost, and we actually get a hologram with a radio broadcast, which is another one that we love pointing out, Tom. It's another like World War II or wartime reference where you'd have the radio host being like, all right, this one goes out for our boys fighting on the front. We're all back home waiting for you. And it was like one of those kind of moments in the beginning, which again, Mike, the reason I thought of it was you saying that they mentioned hell twice, and like kind of, bringing it more to the fact that like, hey, well, war is hell, right? This is a battle. This is what they have to do. And
it's like mud jumpers, Mimbon, I think. Yeah, I think that's,
well, they give a shout out to she gives a shout out to the mud jumpers. But yeah, it's like the radio thing. And again, it was a very classical, like old, like World War, usually
like
World War One, World War II. That was when
I'd say it's more World War II, because World War One it was more record players or something like that. I don't know, possibly.
Radio,
But now that you mention that, because they use the term shinies, the first thing that came to my mind was, now since you brought up World War II, Band of Brothers again, replacements.
Yep. Yeah, I mean it's true, right? It's you see. Again, we see Rex and Cody without their helmets on, and you can see, Cody's got his battle scars. Rex has, the shaved head. They're, earlier on, a giant eel pops out in front of Fives, Heavy, Echo, and Cut Up. None of them can do anything, and Cut Up gets eaten. But then it happens again in front of Fives, Heavy, Echo, Cody, and Rex. And Rex immediately drops the eel with a one shot to the eye, one shot, one kill, just a bullseye. And like it shows you like that, these two are just way more experienced. They're more war hardened compared to the newer guys. And that goes back to our quote: the best confidence builder is experience. And like, you need that experience. And I think one of the recruits at one point, when they're going back into battle, he goes, "Can I take point?" And like Cody or Rex is like, "I always go in first." Like, no, they just like shut them down a little bit because they have more confidence. They're because they have more experience. So it's definitely a very good episode, and it's cool to see kind of all that.
I was just thinking of another one of a hot take. The way I wanted to end with Echo and Five, and just them saying one line. This is where the fun begins.
Yep. I mean, when you're part of the 501st, where the fun begins. So.
All right. Anything else?
I'm all good.
All right, Mike, take it away.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you, everyone, for joining Three Simple Men making their way through the galaxy. Hit that like, comment, subscribe, and come back next week for some more Star Wars: The Clone Wars content. May the Force be with you, always.